YouTube. Welcome back to another episode of Hashtag Screws Kitchen, Hashtag Screws Tube. This is a new installment what I call Corner Store Cooking. You know the vibes, just cause it's hood don't mean it can't be good, you heard? No? Stick around though. Now to kick this off, we coming with 2 cans of pink salmon, right? Now you take your salmon out the can, you let it drain off, I don't suggest that you rinse it, but if you finicky like that, then you can do that as well, right? And then what we do is we just open these up and then take out the bones and keep it simple like that, right? Now, by the way, just so y'all know, every single ingredient that I use in this recipe came from the corner store or has it in the corner store. I checked before I put anything in here, right? So the version that I might be using might be different than the one that's actually in the corner store, but they have it, all right? So now that we got our fish deboned, we're gonna season this up and we're gonna go in with about a tablespoon of parsley. Now we going with another tablespoon of red chili flakes, crushed of course. Now we have 1 tablespoon of onion powder, because remember, this is 2 cans of salmon, right? Both cans should cost you around about $7. Now we have 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. One more tablespoon of garlic powder. 1 more teaspoon of oregano. I've heard people call it oregano, however you like to pronounce it. So, you know what I mean? It's all flavor to me, you feel me? Now we have 1 teaspoon of Maggi, right? Fish seasoning. You don't really have to use as much, you know what I mean? Maggi is very potent, so you don't need much, you feel me? So 1 teaspoon or half a teaspoon will do you just fine. And then we go in with our hands and we mix this in thoroughly. Now after you've thoroughly incorporated these ingredients, this texture should be about this, right? It should look similar to this. That's how I like mine, at least. If you want it bigger, you can leave it bigger, but can't really get a thorough mix if you don't. You feel me? So here we go in with about a 1/4 cup of yellow mustard. So per every can, I'll go in with about 1/8 of a cup of mustard, right? Now we have another 1/4 cup of Dijon. Now you get yourself a spoon or a fork. I prefer a spoon, and then we just mix this in thoroughly. Now once everything is thoroughly incorporated, you could just set this aside, put it in the refrigerator to come back for it later. Now here we have 1 bag of potatoes. That's about 10 to 12 potatoes depending on the size, right? This should also run you about $2.50 to $3. We just take those, we peel them, and we cut them up in about 2-inch cubes. You could go smaller if you choose. This is fine for me. Now to a pot of water, we add about 4 cloves of garlic. I use fresh garlic. I don't like minced. I don't like the idea of somebody else cutting on my garlic for me, you feel me? But you add about 4 to 5 cloves of garlic and 1 teaspoon or tablespoon of kosher salt. We bring that pot up to a rolling boil. And we add in our potatoes. Also, people, please make sure your pot can hold everything. You don't want this thing to boil over and start spilling on your stove. It gets crazy after a while. Now about 20 to 30 minutes in, depending on your heat regulation, we have our potatoes, right? Now you want to make sure that when you check them that they're fork tender, right? Like you can just stick a fork in them easily. And then we could begin to mash our potatoes, right? That we just drain off the majority of the water and we leave a little bit just so that garlic essence could still remain, right? And then we go into the process of mashing our potatoes, you feel me? Now to this, we add about another tablespoon of garlic powder just to, keep that garlic flavor going throughout. And then we incorporate this before we add our liquid. Now to this, we add 12 ounces of evaporated milk, which translates into about 1.5 cups. And then we incorporate that as well and let that all come together. Now once that's come together, we're going with about another 1.5 cups of half and half, right? Now if you choose not to use the evaporated milk, you can also use this. And if you choose not to use this, you can use the same parts of evaporated milk, right? Just bring that all together and then we come back to it in a second. Now here we have our setup for our salmon cakes, right? So we have 3 beaten eggs, some flour that we put the same exact ingredients that we put in our salmon, and we have some plain breadcrumbs, right? So now here we are, back to our salmon. You just take out enough that you feel like you want to make a patty out of, right? I'm not going by ounces, I'm just eyeballing things. So you can do the same as well, right? It's all the same thing. Dredge it in a little bit of flour, right? Get it on both sides, get it on the outside part of it, like the rim, the edge, right? Dip that in the egg, right? And then we coat that in the breadcrumb. Now you want to add a good amount of oil to a hot pot. You want to add it so that it's deep enough so that, we can flip it on both sides, right? Into that, we also add some butter just for extra flavor. Now once that butter is melted and been incorporated in, we add our patty. I wouldn't personally advise you guys to overcrowd the pot. So 1 or 2 at a time, maybe even 3 depending on the size. There we come back to our mashed potatoes. See what that's looking like. Yeah, that's thickened up very, very nicely, as you can see. Right, we're cooking this down a little bit more. Now to this, we add about another tablespoon of black pepper. Not a black pepper fan, but this is like one of the very few things that I put black pepper in. And an entire stick of butter, folks. Hold your horses. Right, we just get that all incorporated because we want this smooth and creamy, you feel me? Like we don't want no dry mashed potatoes, no flavorless mashed potatoes. So that butter helps a lot, right? Now, we got some Parmesan cheese that we also got from the corner store. This will cost you about $3.75. Due to the fact that we used the whole 10 potatoes, just add the whole entire 8-ounce container to this, right? Now, if you are getting dried out a little bit by the cheese, then we just add about another 1/2 cup of half and half in here. After we add in our half and half, we just take this down to about a medium-low heat for about another 15 to 20 minutes. Let that reduce down a little bit more, put the lid on it, good to go. So about 7 minutes later, we come back to our salmon cakes. We give that a flip and watch the texture, folks. Jeez. Now that's a crunchy, crispy, flavorful salmon cake, beloved. You can use this for breakfast, lunch, dinner. You know what I mean? And here's the end product, folks. Got our creamy garlic Parmesan mashed potatoes with our salmon cakes, little avocado on the side, and some lettuce and tomato cut up into a little salad on the side for you, please. You know what I mean? Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. This is the first installment of Corner Store Cooking. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I'll catch y'all next time. Bless.